7.
Yeah, it's
Let's go ahead and get up.
And it's,
It's maybe a long meeting tonight, so let's go ahead and get started. 7 o'clock, March the 26th. Jamaica Town Select Board meeting calling to order. First order of business is calling for any late additions to the agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to throw out? I have a couple of quick things. So this has come in since printing the agenda, but there are items that need to be taken care of. One is a certificate of compliance for the town road and bridge standards. And the other one is the annual financial plan for the town highways. These need to be signed by us all. So at the end of the session, we'll circulate for signatures. We can go over them in depth at the end. It's not really complicated, but it's required to be able to apply for kind of road grants and that kind of stuff. Any others? Then let's go to item number 2, Select Board minutes for March the 12th. There's a few things that we need to fix. As we go through this, I want you guys to keep in mind that this is graphic proof that your chair does not multitask very well. Running the meetings and taking the minutes at the same time proved to be a real error. So we'll go through the corrections that I've found, and then you guys can throw something else that I might have missed. What I've done is I'm going to read them out and let you know what it is, but I've provided Sarah with written so she doesn't have to be scrambling really fast. First item is under the Select Board officers. Because of the way the rules are set up, we have to make note that there was a motion made by Judy for Paul to continue as chair, and it was seconded by Andy. And then for the vice chairman, that Paul nominated Andy, and that was seconded by Judy.
I thought I nominated you.
Oh, was it the other way around?
I don't know, I thought I did.
It may be. We were sitting here, and we're both racking our brains to remember exactly how it went. Do you want to change it?
No.
Okay. But I knew it was involved that. Down on the regular select board meeting, there was a question on number 2. The approved minutes of February 26th, the motion was made by Andy and seconded by Judy. Is that your memory as well? And then on number 5, reviewing the liquor license, we have in our collective memories that Tom made the motion to approve, and that was seconded by Andy. Does that sound correct? Okay. Feel free to stop me if there's something in here.
That was right. I did not.
Okay. Number 7, continuing discussion regarding a possible letter to the legislature. Just insert the word to, and we'll take care of that one. On the 3rd page, under just under public concerns, Judy made the motion to go into executive session. Having said that, we did not do the usual, we did not put in the minutes the specifics about that motion. So I'm going to read them for the record. I'm going to give this sheet to Sarah, and then she'll enter the corrections. So the first order of motion was for the Muzzy Fund. And so the motion was made by Judy and she says, move to find that premature general public knowledge of a Muzzy Fund request would clearly place the requestor at a substantial disadvantage because the select board risks disclosing the requester's identity if it discusses the request in public. We all voted, agreed to that. The second motion was, and Judy made the motion, and it was seconded by you. Then we made the second motion. She then moved that we enter into executive sessions to discuss a Muzzy Fund request under the provisions of Title 1, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes, and that was also seconded by you. So that will go to Sarah. The next motion, after we did the executive session for the Muzzy Fund, we then went into the executive session for the station attendance, and that went essentially the same way. There were 2 separate motions, and the first motion by Judy was, I move to find that premature general public knowledge of personal hiring activities would clearly place the applicants at a substantial disadvantage because the select board risks violating their privacy if it discusses the hiring specifics in public. We voted on that and agreed. And then the second vote, the second motion was, she moved that we enter into executive session to discuss the hiring of substitute transfer station attendants under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes. So, the next thing was, coming down the page where it says a motion, Tom made the motion to accept the recommendations from Muzzy Fund. That's correct. The next one down says, made a motion, should have been Judy made a motion to approve hiring substitutes for transfer stations. Dimitri Sochin and William Kaczynski, and Andy seconded that motion. Then the last change I had is at the bottom where it says we adjourn. I have Tom making the motion to adjourn and Andy following it with a second to close the meeting. That's how you want to raise it? That?
Yes.
Okay. Those are all I had. Apologize, again, this is obviously multitasking, sometimes doesn't go that well.
I
So,
have one adjustment. Rob Harris on the Recreation Committee. Rob Harris no longer lives in the town of Jamaica and is not on the Recreation Committee.
okay,
So he should be struck down.
sure.
He lives in town and not.
I think that was corrected because I'm looking.
Okay, I'm looking at the notes here and it was not.
Maybe, not, yeah, we're trying to make this work, and we're right there. Oh, I do have them on this one here, I don't have this correction on this sheet.
Well, we didn't know that then, did we?
No, we did not. No.
So the minutes won't be accurate if we change that.
You have a point there, Judge, because the minutes are accurate,
Right.
but we're.
I mentioned that in the meeting.
You
I
did?
mentioned that in the meeting. I did.
Okay.
I
Yeah, you
did
did.
that.
Yes, he did, yes,
I
he
did, I knew that, yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't sure. Well, I was thinking you said it was Matt Winkler's kids were the ones that are moving up.
No, yeah, but he's still part of it.
He's still part of it?
Yeah, but Rob doesn't live in town anymore.
We chased them off. All righty. Any other corrections?
I just have a question about appointments. I didn't look, but is there someone who oversees the office staff?
No, we didn't have there's no specific position for that, so what we've decided is the chair will be the liaison between the select board
Okay.
and the staff. There won't be a supervisor.
No,
as
I know
such.
there wasn't a supervisor, but there was, in the past, I thought somebody
Sort of did,
just
saw.
yeah,
Yeah, but there, she's no longer on the board.
okay.
So what we decided.
I didn't know whether that was an appointment.
I think it was an in-house kind of thing that we did,
Right.
but there's no official, there's nothing in writing about having someone do that. Anything else? No. I'd accept the motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as.
Tom, to accept, do I have a second?
That's corrected.
As corrected.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
Got Andy for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You gonna vote?
All in favor?
Wait a minute, you're the one that's not feeling well. Yeah. Multitasking. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are accepted as correct. Thank you. The next item of business, approve the time sheets for town office listers, sign the select board orders. Let me throw something out while we got this on the table. There was a suggestion made to me that we maybe come in 15 minutes early to do all the paperwork ahead of time. That would mean we'd actually have to officially warn the meeting for 6:45. And then we could set the public portion at 7. So we have to change how we did this. I'm pretty sure it's legal. If it looks like it's worth it for everybody.
This stuff?
Yeah. We come in at 6:45 to sign the orders and the timesheets. But it's up to you guys. I'm neutral on this one.
No, I wouldn't want to. I'd rather do it after.
Do it afterwards? Okay.
Makes no difference to me.
I'm neutral, but
Okay.
I'd say after it's fine too.
All right, so we'll leave it the way it is. And if in time it looks like it's something to think about, we can always make some changes because it's not locked in place. The next order, we have 2 liquor license renewals. One is for the Rossonville Marketplace, and the other is for the Astas. We have the fees, and we have the paperwork, and these also need to be signed by us all. And we are signing on the back page, which, what is interesting. We have 2 front pages. Sarah, we're gonna have to fix this tomorrow.
There's no,
What's,
Oh, well, I think there's two, but the second sheet is another first page for the tobacco. The first
one's
one,
tobacco and one's alcohol.
yeah, but there's a second page that we sign.
I thought that was everything.
Yeah. So we'll have to check that in the morning.
Okay. I don't know.
stack signatures up somewhere.
But these are the authorization and appropriation. Yeah, and that's it, it's the third one, we always find it on the second page. I did not catch that. We can go ahead and approve them, and then we can finish the paperwork.
What's the other one about?
This is one for, what did I say, this is Asses. And this is their renewal for Malt and Venus. And then the second page is this one. And see, this is the page that's missing. That's got what our signatures on it. So the Ashes one is okay.
Okay.
All right. So, I have heard nothing negative on either of these agencies. We're going to go ahead and approve the Rossville Marketplace. And this is again for malt and Venus beverages. Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah.
Renewals?
Venus? Venus. It's Russian. Venus.
Venus.
Wine.
They're wine.
Yeah. I can pronounce wine. And the second one is a license to sell tobacco. So is there any opposition
We'll just sign both licenses, well, that one.
for Asses, for the tobacco and the wine? Yeah.
For Wilbur's, whatever.
Rossville Market, I'm sorry, I hadn't got to Asses yet. Rossville Marketplace, which is Wilbur's, is for the drinking stuff and then the smoking stuff. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, this carries.
Who was the first? Who motioned?
Rossville Marketplace.
No, who motioned it?
Andy motioned.
Okay, thank you.
And you seconded it?
No.
Yeah, I got Greg.
Oh, Greg seconded
I
it.
got that.
That's good.
You should have filled my minutes.
All right, we'll just look at this other sheets, we'll make them available next time if we can.
Yeah.
And then the next one is for Asses, and they're asking for the, this is the outside permit, outside consumption permit, license to sell malt and Venus beverages. And, uh-oh. We don't have the second sheet for the outside consumption.
Where would it be?
We've got the second sheet for the malt and Venus beverages, but we don't have the second sheet for the consumption permit. So these are little technical errors that we can fix. You know, we'll get them together and we'll make them available for you guys to sign. I've entertained a motion, and I've heard nothing derogatory ever about this agency. You have nothing on record.
Don't they have a full bar?
Inside?
I haven't been there for many years.
I don't know, I haven't been there for a while.
I was just curious.
Yeah. I do know they have this outside, out the back there. But,
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion from Tom,
Liquor license and outdoor
A
license.
second.
I have a second from Greg.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will approve those as well. And then Sarah, you and I will work on fixing this paperwork tomorrow. Okay? Very good. Okay, next order of business. We have a continuing discussion regarding a possible letter to the legislature regarding our concerns about possible changes in the open meeting law. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read the most recent iteration of this.
Yeah, we went at our conference this week, they went over it
Yeah.
fairly detailed.
What's your thoughts? Does it require us to do anything?
I don't think so. I think that, my feeling on it is that the way that the law is written is to stop, the serial, what they talked about, the things we had talked about, the serial, talking to different people or getting together in a group and talking about an issue. They really have a lot of exclusions around private parties, around conferences and trainings and those types of things. So, you're not pulling the quorum if three of us decided to go to an event. At the same time, they also have a provision in there that says for daily business. So if you're working with the town clerk, it's not a select board thing then, because you're working with someone who's not on the select board. So I think that was the concern, is that it would make doing daily business difficult. But I don't know if I see that.
Yeah. Does anybody else have thoughts on that?
No, I mean, that's pretty much my summary takeaways on it too.
Yeah, when I read it, the thing I was concerned about was that, I read that the league was in favor of it. That doesn't seem to make sense to me, so I reread it, and I agree. Because when you reread what they finally produced, you're right, it's asking us not to get from 1 to 1 to 1 to try to sell a particular point.
Right.
Doesn't mean we can't discuss things amongst ourselves, as long as we're not doing business and selling votes and stuff.
Right.
So it doesn't seem to me like it's nearly as onerous as the first one that they produced.
I concur.
I don't think there was anything wrong with the existing open meeting law. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their whole thing, I mean, a lot of it was perception too. I mean, so I think they're just doing what they need to do to make sure that everybody's
Yeah.
staying above the law.
There may have been-
Not above the law, but staying within.
With the, there may have been something in some larger towns that had a little bit more of a political interactions, and they may have crafted this around those circumstances and not necessarily something from a small town.
Right.
And that may have been the birth of that, and then eventually.
And I think some of the exceptions too, you know, we're sitting at the table with the Wyndham Select Board,
Yeah.
you know, at the meeting, and it's just like, okay, you know, they have quorum there, you know, so, you know, they technically, if the law wasn't written with these exceptions, they couldn't be there, you know, so I think they built those things in for the 3-person select boards, and then again, but I think you're right, addressing the larger towns. And
So can we can say this is sort of, let's call it resolved with no letter necessary?
It hasn't been voted on.
Well, we never voted.
It hasn't
to
been
do
voted on
anything.
yet.
No.
I don't think it's even on a
Did
conference
it move
yet.
out of committee? I couldn't find anything
didn't
besides.
sound-
I don't think it's, they said it wasn't on committee yet, they said it's
We've got
close,
some
Close.
it's close to coming on committee.
bigger fish to fry lately, it
Yeah.
seems like,
Yeah.
up there. But I'm sure they're still working on it.
It sounds like it, but it sounds like it's at least coming in our direction. So do you want to table it pending their actual action?
It sounds like the majority of the board is all right with the,
The way it reads now?
yeah, what the bill, if it passes.
Yeah, but to your point though, if they change it between now and then, we ought to be able to react to
Just
it.
stay on top of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just need to keep an eye on
And
it.
VLC's pretty good
It
about
may
it.
change as it moves along. Did they talk about that too?
Hmm?
As it moves out of that committee, it may be changed.
They didn't go into that, no.
All right, so let's, just for the sake of
They can change
keeping
it.
an open eye, we can keep an eye on it, we'll table it pending changes from Montpelier. Is that reasonable? Sarah, that make sense? I'm checking with her now, she's keeping me straight.
We're all in trouble.
Number 8. Number 8 is LEOP. For you new guys, that's the Local Emergency Operations Plan. Should we have a local emergency, this is the plan by which we muster our resources and act on it. It includes everything from who to call to opening up the shelters, these kinds of things. It needs to be redone each March with the new names, namely you guys. And so what I've done is I've changed the portions that are significant in that you are all now on the call list as select board members. Nothing else has changed in this. I'll show you what it looks like. It's not all that exciting. Thankfully, I've made a lot of these things in the last couple of years and haven't had to use them. So I'd like to encourage you to not have to use them, but this is what the emergency contact list looks like. And so then you guys are now in as members of the select board. And I called you and I got all the numbers. Remember I talked to you about that? So this is the current thing. And like I said, the only changes is the new seats. Okay?
And we may, going forward, is this something that we can, like if, for instance, our email addresses, that has come up as a.
Right, if that
something
changes,
that
we'll have to
we
change
want to
this.
change.
Yeah.
But does that officially need to then be approved again, or is it, can clerical stuff just be done?
Historically, clerical stuff has been okay. In March of next year, we'll have to go through, because this has to be sent to Wyndham Regional. And then it goes to the states, goes up winding around, and then it comes down approved. So we send it off like this. If there's a change caused by administrative issues, something like that, That's easy enough to fix for the actual operations, but it would be changed officially on the books. As if I need to change that, I can get a hold of Wyndham Regional, we can go upstream. But next year, we'll just generate a new one with the new information, because it's every year.
Yeah.
We do the same thing.
I guess I would like to have my email address changed in there.
In the office of this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we.
Whether or not we go with
When
the
it changes?
Jamaica.org or whatever it is, or I
Okay.
will set up my own separate account, just,
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's get that in process, and then I'll get a hold of Wyndham Regional, make sure we can do that without an act of Congress.
well, just before that goes all the way.
This has to go. This has to be in by the 1st of April.
But I mean, we can take care of it tomorrow.
How can we take care of it?
Yeah, but if we need money, we can't, because we had to talk.
Well, I mean, if, worst case scenario, I will have a different email address
By tomorrow?
before that goes in there. I mean, I just think that these things should all be kept separate. I mean, all of our, basically from the legal perspective, every one of our email addresses is open fodder for anybody,
Sure.
being in this position, and I'd like to keep it separate. Not that I'm concerned about anything that somebody's gonna find in my email, but I think as a professional level, we should have something separate. And whether that goes to, we create one that's a Jamaica-centered one, or we or just me, set up a Gmail account or something like that.
What if he had no email address right now?
I had his email from before. I mean, the one he gave me.
But I mean, if we scratch that, or, I mean, that's what I think Andy's asking.
Yeah, like.
I'm not overly concerned about it, but I think it's some way that we should
white
move
it out.
forward. But I'm not overly concerned, but I think we should move forward with having
Yeah.
independent email addresses and be proactive.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I'm looking at the clock ticking. Because I got the emails from you guys, but if you don't want me to use them.
Is there phone numbers there?
Yep.
Well, just scratch the email if he doesn't have
I'm
them, or Tom.
pretty confident I can do that without setting this whole thing back too terribly far.
And then we'll correct it with new ones.
Yeah.
Let me see what I've got here. Got Andy, got yours in there, got Judy's in there. I've got Tom, yours is the Tom.
Yeah.
You want me to write that
Yeah,
out?
scratch it. Yeah.
Scratch that
That's
one?
something we're using.
All right, we'll scratch that one, and we'll scratch the one you gave me.
Thanks. Yeah, and I mean, if we need to have something in there right away, we can do that, but if it's
Yeah.
nothing in there and we pass it up within the next 6 weeks we can, then.
Yeah, I've got, I'm not remembering the exact date, I think it's the first, I think it's the end of,
Yeah,
it's the
but
end
we
of
don't,
April,
we
end of
can
March.
move it
But
forward.
it's supposed to be done as quickly after town meeting day as possible.
Mhm.
So I will make myself a note to that effect.
I think I got something else.
Let's see.
Oh,
The other thing that's part of this for the new guys is, the LEOP, people who certify the LEOPs to have either ICS 100 or 402. If you all are going to be responding to emergencies for the town, this is the incident command system structure. There's some classes available, they're easy, they're not too hard. I'm the one who's certifying them, I've had all those classes, so I can go ahead and certify it. In my absence, someone who has those certifications would have to certify the LEOP.
I have.
Have you had it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're good if I get hit by a truck between now and then. But did I send you guys the information I had on, there's a ICS 100 coming up, I mean, a 402 coming up.
I didn't see it.
And it's,
I didn't see anything. Well, I wouldn't have got it.
I thought I sent it to you guys, well, I'll make sure I send it out. The 402 is basically aimed at executives. It's not the ground pounder kind of thing, but it gives you an overview of the incident command structure, so that should we end up in an emergency situation, you'll have some idea how the structure is.
Yes.
So if I didn't get, I thought I had it, if I didn't, then I will make sure that I get that to you guys tomorrow.
I took it in March ago,
Okay.
and
Did you take 402 or 100?
100.
100?
And then it took a while because the facilitator was a major crimes state cop, and murders kept,
Yeah.
major crimes kept happening.
The crime kept getting in the way.
Kept having to leave, so it took like all summer.
There's a couple ways to do this, one of which, for 100, is you can do it online, it doesn't take long at all. But the 402 has the advantage of also networking with other people. So you get the sense of talking to other people in your position. And in emergency circumstances, it really helps to have some idea, we're all working on the same. Hello.
Hi, I'll tell you later.
Okay. You're okay though?
Yes, I
That's
am.
good. All right, so can we adopt this one with the changes?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to adopt the
I'll make a
LEOP?
motion to adopt the LEOP for 2018 with the changes made on it.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the 2018 LEOP with changes as described? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Any noes, any abstentions? Okay, we carry it, so I will do that tomorrow. Okay, the next item of business we have, is this yours, Mike?
Was there one permit we were gonna do? Were we gonna do one late permit?
Yes, do you have it? Oh, did I skip over that? I did.
Yeah, he did.
It's number 9, I think.
That's the wrong one. Have you got the good one?
The good one? I'll give it to you. What's this one right here? That's,
That's the one that they filled it in themselves.
that one's gotta go back.
I got it.
Oh, there it
Okay,
is.
there's a excess weight permit for Plimpton Excavating. They sent us a check, the insurance must be on file.
Mhm.
They're requesting 60,000 pounds on one truck and 69 on the other.
Doesn't travel over the bridge to,
No, they couldn't go over the Jamaica, the state park bridge.
The exemption that we put on there is for no wooden deck bridges.
Plank bridges.
Okay, plank bridges, and that's a plank bridge. They're not supposed to go back. Okay, anything else in order?
Yeah.
I'll take a motion to instruct the road commissioner to sign that overweight permit.
I move.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Tom. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. While we're on that topic, and I guess this is what I was thinking too, Ed, later on, do you want to give it about 30 seconds worth of clarifying about the bridge?
30 seconds.
Okay, 35 seconds.
Just that
While we're on the overweight
I've been
topic.
in touch with V-Trans. I was contacted by the state park and in touch with Erica Rover. But that bridge had been inspected again last October. And so I talked to Mark Pickering from V-Trans. And it's fine at 16,000 at 8 tons as it's posted. He's confident that it'll hold that and more. His concern was that, or they were under the impression that the park had these projects they wanted to do that they put off for years, which I'll get to in a minute, which would require a lot heavier equipment. And not to put the guy on the spot, but he told me that it would take the posted weight and probably more. And then this last report, just a couple lines, October 11, 2017, structure is in fair condition. Bearing area on both abutments have a sand buildup and should be cleaned off. Voids in the abutments should be repaired. Town should consider full width runners to help stop the sand from reaching the top flanges of the stringers and floor beam. Steel could use painting. The deck is a mess. We should think about redecking that before it gets fixed. And he also speculated, I don't really want to put him on the spot, but he seemed to think, don't hold your breath for 5 to 7 years.
Mm.
And he also said that if the park really needed to do their projects, perhaps, and I haven't talked to the park about this, but I'll just run it by the board, they would be interested in sponsoring an engineering survey of like before and after. And I assume that means before they run log trucks and heavy equipment over and after, which would make them liable. So, anyway, the park gave me this. He gave me contacts for the Corps of Engineers who had done their own study and thought it would hold a lot less weight, but my understanding is that we don't answer to the Corps of Engineers, that we answer to V-Trans. And back to them, their inspection or appraisal is as compared to federal standards. Do you want me to read everything that's wrong with it? Like they don't like the transitions, they don't like the approach guardrail, those are zeros. Approach guardrail ends are zeros. That means they don't meet current standards, and I guess that's federal standards. Structural elevation is a 4, meets minimum tolerable criteria. Deck geometry, intolerable, replacement needed. The rest is okay. So anyway, the park, I have a contact for them. His name is Ethan Phelps, nice fellow, called up to tell me some their concerns. As far as the park is concerned, we see an annual attendance during May through October, the operating season, of 25 to 30,000 people. That does not count off-season camping and day use, which currently is not tracked. Those visitors have roughly calculated economic impact of $2.2 million. I didn't ask him if that meant to Jamaica or the state yet. Here's the interesting part. There's a percentage of campers, typically 20 to 50% or more, that bring RVs or trailers of some kind. An RV with a tow vehicle would be definitely exceed 2 tons and often exceed 4 tons, which is what we're posting for. No, 8 tons.
8 tons now, yeah.
A small percentage would be above 8 tons. In order to efficiently operate the park, we routinely have vendors that have vehicles approach 20 tons. These include firewood and ice delivery. We gave a permit to the firewood truck and they're bringing it over in a much lighter truck. Ice delivery, septic pumping, trash removal, tree service, and road construction / excavation equipment. And this is what V-Trans was thought they wanted to do. We have several timber management projects that have been on hold for years and years that would need a weight limit of 20 to 30 tons to effectively move wood and equipment. So, I talked with Erica Roper, shared all that with her. She says the bridge is still rated for a 2. You know, the V-Trans fellow said that Newfane has a similar bridge that just finally went into the design phase, and it took, I forget what he said, a few years, kind of similar to what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So we're not anywhere near the design phase, but
So just to be clear, the confusion we had around the 4 tons in the closing was from the Corps of Engineers inspection, not from
well, I think
V-Trans.
that was used to enhance our concern of the bridge's deterioration. Someone serving on the Department of Transportation Board, is that right? Joel was?
He was, yeah.
And was that information passed along the
Well,
Corps of
Engineers,
Engineers? The Corps of Engineers.
The Corps of Engineers are the ones who rated it for 4 tons.
Right.
So V-Trans rates it for
8 tons.
8 tons.
Yeah. So now we got it right, we're locked into the 8 tons, we're satisfied with that.
He said that we could give overweight permits at our own risk, but he said that he was confident that would hold, you know, a little more.
So what do we do in terms of ice and all of the equipment that's 20-ton plus? What do we do about that?
Well, they'd have to ask for a permit to go over.
And then
And then if we give it, then what kind of trouble
I don't know
do we
what
get
it's-
into if it goes boom?
Well, if it falls in the river, that's the quickest way that the bridge will get replaced. And I'm not being
Yeah.
funny. That's what I've been hearing. That's what I've heard on the other end of the phone from two
But
different people.
Are we liable? Does the town become liable because we did give a
I think
permit?
if we gave a 30-ton permit, we might be.
But if they go ahead and do it on an 8, when in fact they're a 20, and go over the bridge anyway?
Well, I don't know.
Then we would be liable if we did
No,
that
it's
8.
against the law.
If it's
We
supposed
wouldn't
to-
issue a permit that big.
Yeah, I know, but let's say they do it
They're-
anyway.
They're talking about their logging projects that have been on hold for 15 to 20 years.
Mhm.
It would be nice if V-Trans would give us they're saying, okay, you're probably good for more than 8, but how much, 10%, 20%? They're not giving us
He
that.
just said that it would hold probably more than it's posted for. Those
Yeah,
are-
but that's a,
That's all I had to tell you. I couldn't
Yeah,
hang it on
no.
weight.
I guess my major concern is where does the town stand in terms of overweight vehicles?
I'm pretty confident that if we write an overweight permit and the truck goes through, they will be more than happy to blame us.
Yes,
And so you said.
That's with any other bridge.
yeah,
Whereas if they do it without a permit, then they're done.
that's their problem.
Yeah.
So we just have to be careful not to give the overweight.
Not too
Not
much.
too much over.
Yeah, not too much, not too often.
Okay.
And it rests with the board.
So it sounds like the rest of it is just a matter of time.
But it sounds longer than we had been thinking.
Well, that's just his take on it too, but he's the one I gotta deal with.
Oh,
There's other things going on that may speed it up.
huh.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I moved that item was number 11, but since we're talking about overweight permits, that was pretty germane, I think. Thank you for doing that. Anything else on this topic? We have received, received an application for the planning commission opening from Lisa Mann. Arrived March 20th. Dear members of the select board, I'm a relatively new full-time resident of Jamaica, having moved here since September 1, 2017. I enjoyed many summer and winter vacations here with my father since I was a teenager. Since my father's passing in 2008, I've maintained 3 dwellings and properties at 192, 190, and 160 Depot Street. My intention is to make a home here. I love this part of the world and see myself as a caretaker of the land, which will eventually be passed on to another caretaker. By the way, I'm going to give it, you don't have to write a list down, figure that part out. I would very much like to contribute my time and knowledge to the Town Planning Commission. Please accept this letter as a statement of my intention to join the Planning Commission of the Town of Jamaica for the period of 1 year. My work experience is primarily as a registered nurse in central New Jersey for 24 years. In May of 2017, I received a master's degree in landscape architecture from Temple University with an emphasis on environmental restoration. I have a strong interest in land use and planning as well as design. I have a solid background in computer design and GIS, Geographic Information System Mapping Technology, which can be especially useful in land use planning. My interest was piqued at town meeting day when Act 174 was mentioned. I believe renewable energy is a vital component of ecological sustainability and feel that contribution of my time towards that end would be valuable. Should any references or further information be required of me, I will make them available. Thank you for your consideration. And I will give this letter to the chair of the planning commission, who is here. We can get it right up there.
Okay. I
We
did
have
get
had,
information about the position on her voicemail.
you will have.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, which
We have-
first?
We've only had one application for this, so we have to consider what we want to do, but you should have that. Yeah. And are you?
She is a permanent resident?
She is a permanent resident.
Yeah.
Okay, because it
And
was
just
confusing.
recently permanent.
She moved up here in the fall of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's got roots here for a number of years, right?
Her father owned the property.
Yes, go ahead.
Just my impression is that, from hearing her voice message and everything, and reading this letter, that she would be a really valuable addition. That's all.
What we could do is set up just a quick meeting with the select board for perhaps next week, or not next week, the week after, for the next meeting.
Yeah.
And at least meet her before we make the application. Would that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
I think that she sounds fully qualified and
Yeah, do we have to do
and that
that?
we don't need to even take that step. I mean, I'm willing to move forward now to make a motion that, I just know how I got involved with the planning commission and Judy can maybe speak to this too, is that, this person sounds perfectly qualified and very interested in doing the work, and that I don't think it has to be a full interview process.
Sure. I guess my concern is that we're asking, we're nominating somebody that some of us have no idea.
Yeah, I've met her, I'm friends with her, she's my neighbor, so
Yeah,
I
so
think
you know her.
she's fully qualified for the position. completely. I support her.
I would still like to meet her.
Do we do that as a rule? Or just the planning commission chair?
Well,
I know when I was appointed, there was a 15-day waiting period.
That's right.
But I had been working with the planning commission as a volunteer before that. So
Right.
I'd be happy to contact her, to ask her to come to our next meeting on Monday, just to see what it's like.
Just to
And
meet us.
just as an observer.
Yeah, we don't have to have a special.
No, I'm not thinking of a big
special.
formal.
I know her too.
Yeah, right, of
It's my
course.
neighbor.
Yeah, she
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any, obviously we all want to feel comfortable with her,
Yeah.
but I don't think
I
there's any
don't know
formal
who it is.
process to,
Yeah.
an application process or a time frame or a waiting period or anything that's necessary, but if a few of us want to meet her first, then that's.
Do we have a sense of how, right now, we've only had one application. So do we have a sense on how much time would be appropriate to wait for another application to come in?
Well, there's two openings right now.
There are, but what I'm saying is, no people.
Someone else had approached me and said they were interested too, and I forget who it was.
I guess I was just saying, we make the application before the vetting, not the vetting period, but the application period is over. That's not fair to whoever might come in next week with 3 or 4 applications. I'm just trying to play the worst case scenario. I'm not trying to be obstinate. I'm just trying to think in terms of what we as a town need to consider. If we as a select board say, hey, it's been a week, that's enough, then we'll only have one opening left over. But we can do that.
Why did we ask Rebecca to wait 15 days? Wasn't there something we had to, after she volunteered?
I don't recall.
I think it was just, I was looking at it from the other side, being
Sure.
the planning commission. I don't believe, and I had done a little bit of research on it, that there wasn't any formality as far as statute or anything that said what
Right.
we had to go through, and it was just maybe a comfort level with the board to say,
Yeah.
we want to get to know everybody a little better, which is fine.
But it might have been,
That's basically
No,
where
you
I'm
look-
coming. I did that. I
Yeah.
came before the board when I was voted in.
and I think the 15 days, because I remember we actually appointed you the day before the 15 days ran out. So I'm suspicious if it was just we waited until the next select board meeting.
No, there was something we had to follow, like somebody wanted to resign, we had to, there was something you found, a statute or something. Anyway.
There is a process.
There is a process for removing the person,
Okay,
so maybe,
that's what I'm thinking of. 'cause
but I think there was still already a vacancy when you came
When-
on even before this.
Well, part
There
of
was
her-
two vacancies at that point too.
And there was some medical involved. And so even though the person wasn't available, there was some medical issues. And so there was so many things going on at that time that I just don't recall.
No, that's fair. Yeah, but I think Rebecca filled the position that was vacant,
Sure.
as opposed to the position that we're
Because
talking about.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
another.
remember asking if we could appoint her right now,
Yeah.
and I was turned down cold.
Not warm enough. I'm sure we were warm enough.
All
All right, so as a board, are we comfortable with 1 week of waiting, and we want to go ahead and nominate somebody that at least 2 of you, 3 of you, no, 2 of you have met and know?
Yeah,
Comfortable waiting, or comfortable making a nomination? I'm comfortable making a motion to accept her nomination or appointment.
Well, then, want to make a motion?
Comfortable accepting her appointment.
I'll make a motion that we accept the, I don't know, it's an appointment, so we're not really accepting. her,
No, we're
but
appointing.
I make the motion that we appoint Lisa Mann to fill one of the vacancies on the Jamaica Planning Commission.
I second that.
You got a second? Any further discussion?
I would still like to meet her.
I will
I'm not
concur
sure
with
that that will happen.
Yeah, I think I'd like to meet her. I just say, I'm uncomfortable appointing somebody I've never been met before.
Yeah.
Not that you guys' recommendation is bad, it's
You
just,
guys who live in
the sense of
town
the thing.
know her. I remember in East Jamaica.
so, we've had the discussion, we've got seconds. Moving forward to the vote, all in favor of appointing, what's her first name?
Lisa
Lisa Mann, say aye.
Aye.
I have 3 ayes. Any opposed?
I'll say no.
The ayes have it. So we will, if you can get in touch with her, and
She could come to the meeting.
invite her to
so
come
for
one
sure.
of these days.
Yeah.
Show her face.
Who wouldn't want
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay.
That's the only reason why I said no, is I still would like her to come, but if she's coming, then
Right.
I'll say yes. But the vote's taken already, so forget it.
We can invite her.
I'll invite her to the next one.
Sounds good. Okay, and on that subsequent topic, we have had no applications for the Wyndham Regional Commission.
I'll apply for that.
I have no written applications to date.
to.
I think you're dropping one on the table. We now have 1 application to date, we'll review that.
How many does there need to be?
There's 2 slots, okay? But this is a different kind of a situation, so this has got to go into the Wyndham Regional Commission. There's a little bit more formal procedures, but at any rate, we now have 1, which we did not have, so now we have 1.
Well, for the record, what is it for if someone was wanting to apply besides Joel?
What do you mean, what is it for?
What,
It's the the Jamaica's representative on the Wyndham
The Wyndham
Regional.
Regional Commission,
so
exactly.
there's one
My understanding
We have
application,
1 application,
Commission.
but there's 2 openings?
there's 2 openings.
That's correct.
That's
What's
correct.
the other one?
Right.
We have
Veda
nobody.
was,
What?
Veda.
Veda was,
Well, Veda's not on anymore because she's with
Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But having the fact that Joel has been on it, I'm not sure we have to wait for others.
He was not on the commission. He was on the Transportation Committee as a non-commissioned member.
Not, to my understanding, not to Wyndham Regional's understanding.
Yeah, well, there was a letter out, and I think I sent it to everybody, including you.
You did.
Explaining how that happened. We did not vote on any members for the Wyndham Regional Commission, and last year. What we did vote for is an appointment to the Transportation Committee, but not to the commission member. So that there was a form that was filled out. I'm taking the blame for this one because I filled it out, so that he would be able to vote, to get voting status. Exactly how all that stuff happened, I just honestly don't recall. But we do have, I went over the video for the meeting for last year. We did not vote in any members. Now, Veda got on it as well. I do not recall how all that happened, but I do know that we checked on the vote in last year's organizational meeting. There wasn't any. So it was some confusion, legitimately, because he knew he was on the Transportation Committee, and there was this form that made it look a whole lot like he was a commission member.
I think he's been acting as in all good conscience.
Perhaps.
As our member. And, I mean, I would just like to think that we can move this a little bit quicker rather than, I mean, there's no harm probably in waiting, but I mean, we've already got a great representative there and,
Sure.
and somebody who's can, whether he was a commissioner before or can be now, I think is.
Well, let's put it in the hopper. Again, this has only been a week, 2 weeks since we put this out.
I remember too, like for so many years, we never had a representative there, and I think it's
No,
been
no,
great work.
we've had representative.
But for many years, we did, or not
Beckwood
fully.
has been for many, many years, and it was just recently where she stopped.
3 or 4 years.
Well, that's what I
ago.
meant, there was a gap in there when we didn't have.
There has been a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was not very long.
Yeah. It would be good if we had. So, let's
So
move
what's
on.
the
Let's
process
go
here?
on.
We'll take that up at the next meeting.
Take it up, let's process this and see what else we have, we can take up for the next meeting. Okay, so the next item, let me put this down here. Okay, Updated the bridge situation we've taken care of. Recently, we're talking about item number 12, there has come across the news wires, which we used to say in the old days, when I was actually doing this, that we may be losing cell phone coverage for Verizon, for US Cellular, a whole bunch of things that I can't remember. I think I sent all this out to everybody.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any more in the last 3 or 4 days about this, but the possibility was this upcoming week. The biggest concern from my perspective as a medic is that we may lose cell phone coverage with Grace Cottage. And
Grace
so-
Cottage will lose theirs.
Yeah, so if we're rolling and trying to get a hold of Grace Cottage, we don't get a hold of Grace Cottage so we can set up a flare. So that's a concern from that end of it. But as far as everybody else in the areas, I haven't seen anything else in the news. And I got an alert from VLCT who sent it out. I think I shared that with
They
everybody.
mentioned it too at the
It's
meeting.
been in the
There's something
news.
about that at the meeting this weekend as well.
Yeah.
About, that's out there just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
There's a potential that something gonna happen, yeah.
Yeah.
Which tower are you talking about we would be losing? The one in the church
No,
or the
that's
one
Not
in?
that's
specific
the-
to any tower.
That's what now?
No, it's not the tower, it's the company that
Okay,
provides.
yes, but that would then also indicate the one that is out on the route going to Wardsboro.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we're not talking about hardware, we're talking about the company providing.
I
the
understand
information.
It's
that.
pulling
But they're just pulling the plug, yeah, basically.
Yeah, they're just closing business.
So it would be the entire town, not,
Well,
many towns.
I know,
But-
29 to
yeah.
be exact.
People with that particular company
Yes.
in those towns.
Right.
Those of us who have AT&T here
And,
are fine.
yeah, but I don't have AT&T. Oh, yes, I do have, well, AT&T.
So there's specific service companies.
Right.
I've got the list upstairs, I can mention.
Yeah, I've seen the list, but.
It's
I
surprising
wasn't-
that we haven't
it-
heard anything
I know,
about it.
Yeah.
It sounded like they were gonna step in as an emergency action
I thought the
to take
government-
control of this company so that it wouldn't, maybe,
Yeah.
they might go away, but somebody else would run it because of the emergency aspects of it.
I've heard nothing from the emergency end of it, anything changed, so. So anyway, it's just a heads up.
Yeah, do we have any, I mean, we can write a letter, I suppose, but I don't know if we have much. I mean, I think everybody's as concerned as they
Sure,
can.
yeah.
The coverage is so lousy anyway with Verizon and US Cellular, it's not like
Hard
there's
to know.
a ton of that around. I mean, I know people at Verizon, they can't get anything in town.
Yeah, depends on how you line up with the towers. It's pretty, it is pretty
I
haphazard.
mean, AT&T is definitely a strong suit here.
Yeah.
Yeah, having the hospital not be able to have access to
Yeah, that's
it, I mean,
amazing.
maybe they as a group
911 was
should-
also listed as not.
Well, this is their concern, you wouldn't be able to access 911 from
Yeah.
a Verizon phone, for example.
Right.
So I don't think anybody is in the panic mode yet, the sky is yet to fall, but it's something that we should be aware of and be sensitive to, that if it's not working by the end of the week, then it's not your personal fault. Yes, I see a finger.
Do you have a list of, what those carriers are?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Is there a way I can
Oh,
find out?
upstairs.
it's been published in the Reformer, it's been in the.
What's in the paper? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been advertised around. I copied mine off of the emergency letter I got from VLCT, but I think I've got it upstairs. Yeah.
It's pretty big news, actually, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been all over the media, statewide.
Well, actually, where I live, I don't have cell service,
Yeah.
and there are many of us like that.
The
So,
tricky piece about it, it's hard for any company to make a decent cell service for Southern Vermont. It is true, which is why the big companies, most companies aren't interested in even trying because there's no money in it. Because they don't have enough of a population to support them. We understand that it's called living in Southern Vermont, but at least this company tried. We gotta give them credit, they took a crack at it, didn't work, but at least they tried, as opposed to ignoring us completely.
well, I think also our governor previously was very much into getting cell service for the entire state, so.
And I think that's still on the agenda,
Yeah.
it's just that sometimes you take a jump before you're ready. All right, next item. Time for public concerns. Yes, ma'am.
Can I speak? I'd like to speak partly as a member of the public, but partly as the new chair of the Planning Commission. I sent to all of you the draft energy plan on Saturday, and we're very excited about it. And what I'd like for you to do is, I know it's long, but if you have a chance sometime this week to at least skim it, and if things come to your mind, if you have comments or questions, then please direct them to me, and I will be incorporating your comments into the draft that we send to Marion Major at Wyndham Regional. That is actually due on April 1st, so I'm going to be doing that probably next Saturday. So if you get comments to me by then, I can wrap it into that so that she will have a more full picture of the situation in Jamaica. And also, if you have any questions of me right now, I'd be happy to answer any.
Well, I was reading it today, I didn't have time the whole thing, but I skimmed
Yeah,
over it.
it's long.
I look very, very impressive. Good job.
It's a lot of work.
It's,
A lot of work, yeah.
I have to say that Christopher Robbins has borne the brunt of this work, but it's a joint effort.
Well, let me ask you two quick questions.
Sure.
And this is the first two that came to mind. Has anybody yet asked for, or evidenced any interest in putting up wind towers on our ridges?
Not to my knowledge, but the whole point of having an energy plan in compliance with Act 174 is so that we have higher standing and higher deference, greater deference in terms of the Public Services Board in letting people have licenses for that. And if we state in our plan, which is, if you've even skimmed it, you have seen many references to our opposition to that and protecting our ridgelines and how important it is. Our plan will be given much greater deference and much stronger weight in terms of arguing against any company that wants to put up such a thing.
So then my next question comes to the issue of our struggle within Jamaica, and you all are the leader on this, about bringing in businesses and tax-paying infrastructure. So it seems to me that towers, and I'm neutral on this, I'm just the questions. We have a company that wants to put in a tower structure for power. That's going to be a tax-generating business. And so if we automatically say, don't even look here, that's one other business, tax-generating business opportunity that we're pretty much saying we don't want to talk to.
Looking at the data that we've compiled, and a lot of it is what Wyndham Regional Commission has helped us gather, our economic base is really based on tourism and views, and something like that would actually negate that, would pretty much cut it off at the knees in terms of having things that would spoil people's views and the economic benefits that tourism brings here.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this fleshes out, because obviously there's some ridges that are visible and some that aren't. I'm just concerned about, we're talking about bringing in water supplies, we're talking about bringing in different kinds of business opportunities, and this is a business opportunity, which may be distasteful to some people, but it may pay taxes for others, so it's just, there's two sides to this thing, it's not just
There are two sides for it, and the other thing though is that most of the ridgelines that we have identified are conservation areas, which we have, from my knowledge, I haven't actually seen all the documents yet, but for the past 20 years has been part of the Planning Commission's work in protecting those view sheds, is what they call them.
Limited development in those areas. I mean, obviously, putting a wind tower can't go into a commercial area, it's gotta go into a rural resource area.
Right.
And there's alternative energy sourcing too, that, I mean, speaking from my previous role, Planning Commission, but there's alternative energy sources that can play better into our tourism economy. I mean, they're not such a big piece of the visible environment. And it's not just what you see on the ridgelines, it's the infrastructure that needs to go in to create roads to get up there, and the impact on the environment for erosion and for wildlife and other things like that too. So, but I think your point, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, we should be looking at all business.
Something to be taken into account.
I think there's a balance of things there.
There's some more discussion to be had.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're getting both sides of the
One
discussion.
of the things that the data seem to show right now is that we can meet our energy goals by conservation and boosting the use of solar. And that's basically where our plan is going, and hoping that we can achieve those goals that way. One of the things that I'll be coming to the board about in a couple of weeks probably is getting your legislative approval to actually take part in the Vermont Energy Dashboard. It's the Vermont Climate Action Coalition, basically. It's just an organization, really, that will help coordinate a lot of efforts for conservation, and we can take advantage of a lot of funding and workshops for doing like weatherization and a lot of nitty-gritty things that everybody could participate in. And I think it might be a way to get the town on board, getting excited about meeting these energy goals in a really responsible way that will save everybody a lot of money. And joining this coalition doesn't cost any money.
That's the part.
Yes, I know, absolutely. But it's a way to generate publicity and excitement for saving a lot of money, you know, and tapping into funding opportunities for people to weatherize their homes, to convert to more efficient heating, even, you know, down the road, possibly really effective photovoltaic solar generation on an individual level. So we're kind of excited about some of those things. They seem really promising.
Well, certainly there's a lot of work put into that plan.
Yes.
Like a lot of work, because I'm going through it, but it's going to take some time to
It
read.
even has footnotes.
Very academic. There you go. Anything else? Thank you very much. Now, we need to, we have to go through 2 executive sessions. So what we would do on this is go into one, then come out, go into one, and then when we come out of the second one, there's going to be, we're going to have to take a vote coming out of the second one. So I'm going to ask Rich to hang in there until we're done. The other thing is I would ask for a volunteer to take minutes. Much of the corrections that we had to do for tonight were caused because I tried to run the meeting and take notes, and that was a real error. So I would accept a volunteer to take notes, so that way Sarah doesn't have to hang around for the whole rest of the evening. Do you have any volunteers? Then I would suggest, Greg, I've seen your minutes.
So that this would be to take minutes after we come out of the executive.
Exactly, just for that last
To
piece.
record our.
Exactly.
I can do that.
Because I ended up, I got some of it,
You did.
not to be trusted. So therefore, I would entertain a motion. Where's our little motion? What do you have one? What do you want?
I did, I don't know why.
We'll get to it.
I have mine.
I know you go.
I need a motion to enter an executive session for a personnel matter.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge of
Personnel matter.
Personnel matter.
would clearly place
The individual.
the individual at a substantial disadvantage because the select board,
Risk disclosing his identity.
that what now?
I'm just,
Almost have it memorized.
well, I don't want to be doing it for you.
I know.
Okay.
Okay, you're because the select board is at a disadvantage if it discusses this particular personnel issue in public.
So I have a second.
I second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor going in, or finding the premature general knowledge say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Now, we need a
I
motion to
move we enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter under the provision of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes.
I second.
Have a second? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. We'll go into this executive session. We'll give camera crew a couple of minutes. We'll pick it right up. So it's, let's call it, you want to call it 34?
Sounds good.
All right, we're out of executive session. We're back on the Jamaica Selectboard meeting for the 26th of March. It is returned from executive in regard to legal action that the town has been going through, we've arrived at an agreement. I'm going to read the agreement and then I'll entertain a motion to move forward with this. And the motion will be to have me sign on behalf of Jamaica as a duly authorized agent. Okay? This is a paragraph that was written by our attorney for these purposes. We are entering into this agreement to provide finality for the town in respect to this matter. This agreement eliminates the potential of perfecting any and all claims or litigation against the town by the former employee now and in the future. Legal counsel has advised us that the terms of this agreement are fair and reasonable, and it is with that notice is not stuck together. With that advice in mind, and to eliminate any other uncertainty, inconvenience, or expense, that we are accepting this agreement. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Tom, second by Judy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting this agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, this agreement has been accepted. I will sign this and I will transmit it to the affected parties tomorrow morning. The one, really quickly, before we go too far, we're going to have two things that we have to sign in addition to the usual stuff. One is the compliance. I think I told you about these things before. They're forms of basically acknowledging our mileage and that kind of stuff. It's necessary for any movement towards
Grants?
Yeah, I'm looking for payment grants or any kind of road grants.
Right. The orange
Routine
one.
paperwork. So we'll put that in with the other things we sign.
Okay.
All right? I don't think it requires a movement to do that. We just have to sign it as approved.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I hear any further discussion? All in favor of adjourning to sign our usual paperwork, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are in adjournment. Thank you, thank you, thank you.